Hello, everybody. This is Frank with Iron Age News, South Florida, conservative news site, and it's Friday, July 18th, 11 a.m. on the Eastern Seaboard. And hopefully, unless it starts to turn around and give us some victims, which we can prosecute, this is the last time we're going to be talking about the Jeffrey Epstein files. Okay, look, it's hard to be enthusiastic at this point, but here we go. All right, it's the summer of 2025, and once again, the name Jeffrey Epstein is causing tremors in Washington. But this time, it's not about the new crimes or new arrest. It's about the truth we still haven't seen. And that is due in large part to the handling or mishandling of the case by both the FBI, the new FBI, and the Attorney General's office. That is a foregone conclusion that any misunderstandings, mistakes, and everything else fall firmly in the laps of these two groups. So, what we are going to do now, due to the furor around all of these issues, is sealed grand jury testimony, names, allegations, possibly evidence that could shake the political and elite classes. At the center of the storm, again, former President Donald J. Trump. Come on down, right? He is bowing to pressure to release any Epstein information. And this is all, I guess, the last thing he thinks that there is. And that's why it is coming out at this point. He is directed the Attorney General to open this information up. Obviously, there's going to be some redaction when it comes to victims' names. Hopefully, it is not once again a giant black screen. So we'll see what happens. But as we said, Donald Trump is now demanding that his Attorney General, Pam Bondi, move to unseal all of it, every word, every name. This demand didn't come out of nowhere. As you know, it followed a leak, an old letter alleging between Trump and allegedly between Trump and Epstein. Trump is already vowing to sue the crap out of the news outlet who broadcast it, full of eyebrow-raising content. Trump called the leak disinformation and went on the offense. So now, since everybody wants to play, he is going to shine a spotlight on everything. So is it transparency or is it a tactical distraction? We shall find out. What's unfolding isn't just a legal question, it's a political earthquake. The Democrats in Congress have also tried to push for disclosure, but they have other motives, equally complicated. Some want justice for Epstein's victims, that's probably not very many of them. Others might be looking for political ammunition. After all, if any Republicans are tied to the case, especially any names like a Mitch McConnell or even somebody newer on the more MAGA side, this would be gold in an election year, okay? But not everybody wants these files opened up. Some Republicans are digging in their heels. Their argument is grand jury testimony. This is true. Grand jury testimony is supposed to remain sealed to protect due process and witness privacy. But to be honest, there is also fear that powerful names, maybe even donors or colleagues, might appear on those documents. In short, everyone's trying to position themselves as a defender of truth, but they're all playing defense. This isn't just a one-off scandal. This is a test of how serious our institutions are about confronting elite abuse. On one hand, you've got an attorney general who says she's ready to go to the court to unseal the files. On the other hand, you've got a political class that for years helped bury Epstein's secrets. Jeffrey Epstein did not operate in a vacuum. He reached out to many, many, many people. The photographs are an example thereof. They do not mean that he had correspondence or relations or whatever. Just means he was out there, he got to the right parties, and he took the right photos. Any of you who have been at a political mixer that you've paid to go to know that's why everybody's there, to get their photograph with the person. So those things have always been discounted by me as he just paid to go to the event and that's the end of it, right? So what we have now is what happens if these documents are released, the grand jury testimony and stuff like that. There are going to be lawsuits. There are going to be resignations, and there may even be criminal referrals, or there may be nothing, right? Maybe we get redactions. Maybe the courts block it. Maybe the story dies again under the weight of ongoing investigations. You have a lot of things that could possibly occur here. What we do know is that Jeffrey Epstein did indeed get convicted of something and was put in a jail where he did or did not kill himself. Ghislaine Maxwell is also in a prison convicted of something that she was able to strike a plea deal and get a sweetheart sentence over. Okay. So that's the real scandal. Now, what's in the files? And that it's taken this long to even ask for them. The Epstein case has always represented more than a man. It's a mirror. You know, people say this all the time, but it's a mirror, one that shows us how deep elite protectionism runs across both parties. Since there is only really one party prior to the recent elections, we are mostly one party, and then outlying people that want to do the right thing on both sides. There are a couple of Democrats that want to do the right thing, and there's the MAGA party, and there are people in the MAGA party that want to do the right thing too. It's not everybody. So across both parties, like I said, in the media, in finance, and even in law enforcement, Trump's move may be political, might be. The Democrats' efforts might be tactical, but the question remains, will the truth come out? And is it going to be such a mundane truth that all these people who have wasted years of their lives wanting to know the answer? And honestly, and I don't know why more people, when I tell people this, especially in other countries, people voted for Donald Trump specifically because he was going to open the Epstein files, the JFK, and the Martin Luther King files. Okay. And he did what he was able to do. There is an ignorance in this country. I am as ignorant on certain things as everybody else, that you just think that he's Caesar, and because he says it, it gets done. There are checks and balances everywhere. The last 4 years, on the other hand, under Biden, people never saw that, because when you have a coup and the junta in charge is running everything, it moves as one being and it does not have any checks and balances, right? So you are like the younger people that are like 18, 19 now, when they were getting a developed idea of what the law meant, they were seeing a lawless America under Biden. They were watching a socialist kleptocracy in some cases, operating with impunity to punish the opposition. So when you say, oh, the FBI doesn't do this, well, we know the FBI isn't under control of Dan Bongino and Kash Patel to any real extent. We know that because there haven't been enough firings. There haven't been enough key people taken out of position. And if it's elected officials, that doesn't mean shit. They need to get the guys that are 15 to 20 years in the positions. They're the ones who were doing the dirt. We did not see that. We did not see that Department of Justice either. And now in the last few days, while Pam's feeling some heat, she fires Comey's daughter, who shouldn't have been there on day one, right? But what are we talking about? So we'll just leave it at that. Will the truth come out? What is the truth is more importantly, and will people finally be satisfied with it when it shows up? The American public has gotten to a point, due to television, the media, the movies, they have this thing about closure. You don't get closure all the time, guys. It doesn't happen. All right. It doesn't happen very often. To seek it is not always the best thing. All right. I don't know whose psychiatrist you're going to or psychologist you're going to, or if you're watching The Notebook too many times. It doesn't always come about. You have to move forward and learn, right? As you'll find if you do anything in this United States along any political lines, if you have a point you are trying to make, I'm making point A, and the people that I'm explaining it to are looking at D, E, and F, A becomes sacrificed. But A was important. But D, E, and F are important to these other people, so you have to address D, E, and F at the loss of A. And that's sad, but that's how it is. You have to try to preserve that and get this and move forward. So this is where we stand. Let's find out what happens. Any justice who rules against allowing this to come out is going to be vilified. But the point of the matter is, grand jury testimony in general is sealed, right? That's why I had said in the previous article or two, when Mahmoud Khalil, that blowhard asshole, when he and a couple of the other ones said we're going to sue the U.S. government and Donald Trump in particular for $20 million, bring it, because then we will move to unseal your refugee requests. See, those get sealed too. We could move to unseal those, and then you'll see what bullshit lies they said to come into the country. Okay? But once you open this and once you establish precedent, this is for everything in the future, right? They can go anytime in the future when you have the Democrats back in again, and they can go to a series of grand jury testimonies and find out who the whistleblowers were and find out all these other things. And at that point, you're going to say, was it really worth it to do this? The man's been stopped, right? If he had business partners, we don't know. Why didn't we bury Ghislaine Maxwell further? I don't know. I didn't handle that case. I'm not Perry Mason. So this is where we stand as of today on 11 o'clock. What will happen in the next couple of days? Who knows? But there are more important things right now, like the immigration crisis, that need to be addressed more so than this dead man. And if anything, I would say the important thing somebody should have said is, well, if we find out the United States government, especially the CIA, if we're going to follow the conspiracies, if the CIA was somehow involved in him doing this, financial restitution should be made to the victims, right? You're not going to get the handler. We're never going to arrest anybody at the agency. It doesn't happen unless they get completely out of control. And that's only been two people, and both were involved in Libya, and you can look their names up. All right. But otherwise, no one goes to jail on that team. Maybe they die, but they don't usually go to jail. So follow this at your will. Follow this follow this at your own peril. Because if you have this gigantic thing that there's going to be this aha in there, probably isn't, because it would have been leaked by now, right? If it was going to be damaging to Trump, like he said, it would have been leaked by now, because they controlled the courts at the time that this was occurring, So otherwise, have a good day, and hopefully you all get what you wished for on this case. Talk to you later.